Okay, we are live with Rachael and Dan. Well, it's not live because I guess if you're listening to this, it's not live, but we are live here together. Mm-hmm. So thanks both of you for doing this. So Dan, go ahead. Why are you wearing this t-shirt? And who's on your t-shirt? Why are you wearing this t-shirt?
This is Coach Tyler. And this is him in his absolute best moment.
So yeah, if you're listening to this, it's a trainer at the gym named Tyler, who's kind of like the big personality of it.
He's the trainer at the gym.
Yes.
I would call him also a mascot /
Yeah. I think one of my favorite memories of Tyler is one CrossFit Open. Everybody does the workout and he did the workout. And for whatever reason, I think you were telling him he could do better, or maybe he said it to himself. I'm not sure. But I feel like he had like a beer.
He chugged a beer.
Yeah, I feel like he chugged a beer. And then he did the workout again.
And he beat his time.
But while he was lifting, I think they were snatches, he was getting closer and closer to a main supporting beam of the gym.
It was a thruster.
A thruster? Okay. Yeah. The barbell was getting closer and closer to this beam. And I think he was going crazy. So I don't think anyone wanted to slow him down. Yeah. But I think you had like a soap machine or something stuck to the side. Like a hand sanitizer machine. Yeah. And he throws the bar down at one point and he got so close that the side of the barbell hits the hand sanitizer and everything starts going flying, and then he's lifting the thing and then he beat his score and everyone starts cheering.
Crazy. Yeah.
And then I think he chugged another beer he did it in jean shorts.
Yeah. He's an anomaly to the human race though.
Yeah. He's an anomaly.
He used to come into the gym and his warm up was like put 2 plates on the bar, squat, put 3 plates on the bar, squat, and then he was ready to go. He's getting older though, Tyler, if you're listening. He's still in his like early 30s, but older for Tyler.
And then we're going to get into nutrition talk here in a second, but I guess Dan, how are you, it's been a few weeks now from the 24-hour journey of you writing this up, like for 24 hours?
12 hours. 24 hours is
12 hours.
You're putting something
12 hours. See where you are in my head here?
Just because as soon as he was done, he said, okay, next time I'm doing 24 hours.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
So how's the body? Like, how are your hormones? How's your recovery? How's the body after?
Yeah, not good. We can do a whole podcast on that, but it's been rough on my body since, for sure. I've had a lot of blood work done. So, I had some hormone issues afterwards and some recovery issues. And
so what were the hormone issues? Like what's out of
low testosterone. And my red and white blood cell counts were low, but I just retested actually last week. So my blood cell counts are back in normal ranges again, which is good. So it means my body's on the recovery side of things. And my testosterone has come back up. It's still on the low range of the spectrum of what they give you, but it's where I was like non-existent by the end of that. So.
And that's just because your body was so stressed from months of training up to this and then doing it that your body just gives up on testosterone production?
Yeah. One of the worst things for testosterone production is high cortisol levels. And so anytime you're exercising with intensity and volume over an hour is when your cortisol levels start to really go up. And then every hour after that, it like kind of multiplies. I was doing like
12 hours.
Yeah. But it's not just the 12-hour ride. It's the 4 months of training where every day I'm doing like minimum 2 hours of training and normally about 4 hours worth of training. So my cortisol levels were just like through the roof for a long period of time.
And then to try to manage that, you were doing cold plunges daily?
I do
sauna,
cold plunging, sauna. I like therapists like 3 times a week.
The cold plunge for how long did you go in?
I do 5 minutes a day, 3 degrees Celsius, which is like 40.
And then the sauna for how long?
20 to 30 minutes at like 170. Yeah. So I'm sure that stuff helped. Who knows if I would have even made it.
Does your nutrition change in that time? Or you just
when I was training?
Yeah.
Way more carbs, like 500 to 600 grams of carbs a day.
And then after it, does your body then, like, what are you feeding your body to try to heal it?
You're trying to eat as many whole foods as possible. Typically people who are doing ultra endurance events and training for it, their diet's not actually that great. Just because they have to consume so many calories. I did keep mine pretty clean. So, I think that helps, but they recommend that once you're done training like that, that you get off any type of junk food that was like a typical kind of go-to while you were training. A lot of people eat like Sour Patch Kids and weird stuff like that.
Why? Just they need calories.
They need
and
calories
sugar?
and carbohydrates, especially. And to get that from Whole Foods, you gotta be like, well, you gotta have an amazing wife who likes to cook you lots of meals.
Yes, we're gonna get to Rachael.
So,
yes. Yeah.
Or you can go to the convenience store and buy a bunch of Sour Patch Kids and just replenish your glycogen levels that way.
Because your body's just
you're burning through glycogen like crazy. So like your body's going to store glycogen inside in your muscles, in your liver, and then you're just kind of like using it all and trying to replenish it every
So it doesn't matter if it's Sour Patch Kids because you're just burning it.
You're burning
quick.
it off. Like your body can't keep up with the output. Yeah.
But afterwards in recovery, you don't want to keep eating.
No, because that's like not good for you at all.
And build up visceral fat levels
you're just going to get insulin spikes and blood sugar problems, and you're not burning it off. So you're just going to hold on to it as fat. It's not good. Like, I don't think anything about ultra endurance races or training is actually like something I would recommend as far as like for health and longevity in life. There was a purpose was for me to raise a bunch of money for the kids in Haiti, and to do it, there needed to be something on the extreme side of things. So that's what we came up with. But like, as far as how it made my health so much worse, not better.
So Rachael, when you saw what he went through, were you trying to get him to eat certain foods during that time that you thought could help him? Or was it just, oh my gosh, he's just got to get through this. Like whatever calories he needs.
Well, because we have our baseline diet that we eat just all the time. And it's always the same diet. It's always the same kind of template, and the same recommendations that we make for our clients is actually just really, really simple, really baseline. And then the amount that you train is just on top of that. So like 15 years ago, I read a book called The Paleo Diet for Athletes. And it was about like eating paleo plus adding in these extra carbs that you would need for these long distance endurance events. And at the time it wasn't super relevant because I was training CrossFit. But then I realized that it's actually very similar. And so it's just, we have this baseline foundation of what a healthy diet is, and it's pretty paleo, right? With like, some rice and potatoes and that kind of stuff added in.
Yeah, maybe explain what paleo would mean to people.
Yeah. So just
what's
meat,
paleo? Yeah.
Meat, vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds, very little starches, very little added sugars. Just
kind of like plain, what our ancestors would eat just to survive. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Plain whole food, stuff that has like no ingredients on the ingredients, like dry roasted almonds in your almond butter. Like that's it. But then when you're training hard, that's when you have to add in the extra calories, the extra carbohydrates from your fuel. So his meals didn't really change. They stayed the same. And then it was just a ton of extra carbs going in around before, during, and after his workout.
And your favorite go-to carbs for somebody that's doing that kind of stuff would be rice?
Yeah. In your meals for sure is rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Oatmeal.
And
yeah. Fruit. Yeah.
And then before, during, and after the ride, it was like powders and stuff.
So I'm going to get into a baseline diet here in a second, but I just noticed that for the little amount that I do at the gym, when I wasn't eating any carb, when I was really doing paleo, not to do it, I just found I felt much better. I guess it was eating cleaner. So I just felt a lot better. I had to bring in rice back because I had a dry throat for like a year and a half or over a year. And then it was, I just realized, carbohydrate, like
is a hydrate.
And I didn't realize. And then I started just having a bit of rice and everything was better. So having that extra carb was completely better. And I just know definitively my body for doing some CrossFit workouts needs some carbohydrate. I was way too low and I was suffering for a year for it. So when you see somebody walk into the gym who's 30, 35, 40, 45, I don't know, that range, what would you like them to be eating? Like, can you map out a plate or a meal, just a basic meal plan? And the reason I'm asking is there's somebody in this office here who I don't want to name, who we all know. who doesn't have a clue on what to eat. And I bought him from the gym. I bought him that big thing of protein powder.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what to do with it. He didn't have a blend. He doesn't have a blender at home. He doesn't cook. And so he just started eating it straight.
No.
Well, no, I think he put it with water.
Okay.
I think he put it with a bit of water. But then the other day, I'm pretty sure he just told me he took spoonfuls of it. So like, we need to really back up here for people eating and they want a nutritious diet. Like, what's an overall structure? How do you explain that to somebody?
First of all, never try to dry scoop any kind of powder.
Because he said it was really chalky when he was eating, like it was really chalky, and the rest of the day he was doing some real estate stuff, and he was driving around. He goes, the whole day I was really chalky. It felt really chalky in my throat. I'm like, yeah, dude, because you're taking protein powder and you're just scooping it into your mouth. That's not the way.
Listen, every single one of our kids, Dan, has dry that same vanilla whey protein powder. They love it. If I let them have it.
So yeah, like what's a basic structure for someone coming into the gym who doesn't know anything about diet?
Well, that's why I like the paleo diet. And people get hung up in the dogma of paleo in terms of like ancestors and this, not that. Like the simple foundation is just real whole food. So it's just going to be meat, vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds, stuff that you would find in nature. So that's why stuff like rice is fine, because it's a whole grain. So the rice grows on the plant. It has for thousands of years. Humans have cultivated it for thousands of years, and it's this whole grain. Same with oatmeal, right? Like the oats grow and then you pick them. As soon as you start adding layers of processing is when you start to get into trouble. So like bread used to be just wheat and then like ground up and mixed with water, and sourdough and then baked. But now if you take a look at the ingredient list on a loaf of bread, there's added sugars, there's added oils, there's all kinds of stuff added to it. It's just not the same as it was. So we want to get rid of all that processed and refined foods and just bring it back to basics and just say like, this is a potato. It is a whole potato. It grew in the ground. You should eat this. And meat and vegetables and fruit and all that good stuff.
So you're trying to get people to eat nothing out of a box.
Exactly.
So you go to the grocery store. Let's say somebody sees like even steaks that are like those really thin, fast fry steaks. Even that's good because it's meat.
Exactly.
So little fast fry steaks are better than anything else you could be eating that might be coming out of a box.
Exactly. Anything that you can get at the butcher counter is fair game, honestly, because people are naturally going to gravitate towards what tastes good for them and what their body needs. So if you're craving a lot of really fatty meats and like you want that cap on your ribeye, then like go for it. You know, you're not going to, it's not like you're going to eat so much ribeye that it's going to cause problems, like in the absence of any other variables, right? So if you're looking at that ribeye and you're like, man, my body really wants that ribeye, I bet it's going to be good for me, then like just go for it and get it. Or if you're like, okay, I just want that nice plain chicken breast because that's what your body wants, or that's what you know is going to taste good, then go for it. And I think that we overthink these things too much and say that there's, you have to just eat lean meat, or, you can't have this much red meat and that sort of thing. And it's like, that's not the problem that you're going to have. That's not what's going to be causing you health problems. It's going to be these processed and refined foods. So as long as the meat that you're buying is fresh and it's not coming from the 3-day-old marinated section, it's not breaded, it's not fried, then it's just plain, simple meat.
Salt on the steak.
Yes.
Olive oil wherever you want it.
Yes.
Coconut oil is good.
Yeah. Butter too.
Lots of butter everywhere.
Everywhere.
And if you can do grass-fed, everything is even better.
Even better.
Yeah, you get a
sometimes
better
you're gonna get
nutrition profile.
Sometimes if you're buying that from a store, it might be expensive, but you can go to butchers for the grass-fed stuff.
You can just find a farm and get it directly from them.
I totally agree. I 1000% agree, but I never want that to be the reason why people get hung up on eating meat or not eating meat.
Yeah, that's any meat from the grocery store is going to be good.
And especially in Canada.
Yes,
in the States, I would be a little more... In the States, there's like, they have more options and they have less regulations. So I wouldn't personally want to eat a chicken that had been cooped up with 5 million other chickens and they're all crapping all over each other. But that doesn't really happen.
Sure. But I hear what Rachel's saying. Don't get caught, because I think people will stop themselves because they don't have the right meat or the right chicken. And it's like, just start.
Go home and eat a double stuffed Oreo and stuff.
Okay, then what about a good snack? Because I think what really saved me when I changed my diet was I stumbled into, and I overdid it, like I did it wrong, but I stumbled into almond butter and for me, dark chocolate. So what happened after the meal, I found that if I didn't have some fats, I didn't feel satiated.
Yeah,
like I would eat the protein.
A normal response.
Yeah, yeah. And it really saved me because then I got the super dark chocolate, so like 80% or higher. And then I would get almond butter from Whole Foods or any health food store. You know, you can get the freshly ground almond butter.
Yeah.
And I would just dip a bit of dark chocolate into almond butter and I would have a bunch of that, too much, I think. But that would satiate me. Whereas before I would need a piece of cake or like a chocolate croissant or I don't know, like an Oreo cookie.
Yeah.
But I feel like I needed to have those substitute foods set because if I didn't, I would cheat. So like I needed to have these things. So what are those, like, does anything else come to mind? I guess I'm asking. For me, it was almond butter and dark chocolate that really capped off a meal. Anything else that you recommend for someone?
Well, so to me, that's indicative of, just not figuring out yet the balance for your meals. So maybe you weren't having any carbs at all.
I wasn't.
Right? Yeah. So if you had that little bit of potatoes or fruit or whatever with it, then
Sweet potato became my go-to with butter on it.
Yeah. And that's the next thing is also the fat. And then even adding more salt, because almond butter usually has a little bit of a salty taste to it. Sometimes it has salt
Why
in
add the more salt?
Just because it's that satisfying. It triggers all those things that salt does in your body. It's so necessary for you. It
hydrates as well, which people don't understand.
Yeah, and then people usually either crave salty or sweet. So if you kill the salt craving, then you probably won't get a following sweet craving. So salt can kill that sweet craving
That's
as well.
Interesting because you're right. With more salt, I've over the years I've had less of a need to finish a meal with that. But I have definitely added more salt. Like I'll get the best salt now. I layer it on my steaks. I sprinkle it on everything. Yeah.
What's another thing that's also become demonized though, right? Over
salt.
People are so afraid to eat salt because like hypertension, blood pressure issues, stuff like that.
But it's just because of how much is in processed foods.
Exactly. What you don't realize, because I just wrote a newsletter on it last week, salt, and like a deep dive into the research, is that when they look at the research with salt and those things like hypertension, disease, whatever, the people that they are doing these studies on are consuming like 10 to 12 grams of salt a day. And that doesn't come from salting your food. That comes from eating
potato chips.
Yeah, but processed food. So if you went and got like a Hungry Man, from the frozen section and microwaved it, you're going to get 3 grams of salt in that.
Mama Michelangelo's or something. Yeah, I lived on those.
Yeah, exactly.
But even a Big Mac.
Or a Big Mac, if you go get a thing of fries. But not only are you getting an absurd amount of salt in that, you're getting a whole bunch of processed garbage. So they don't really take the two apart and see what's actually giving the problems, right? But when you're eating a diet like she's talking about, paleo, whole food diet, and you don't then you won't be getting any salt in your diet. You have to add salt to everything. Like I salt everything. Otherwise,
what salt do you use?
We use a Celtic sea salt.
Where can I buy it?
That's like
health food store.
Health food stores. That went viral, and you can't even find it anymore.
I use that real salt from Whole Foods.
Yeah,
you can buy a 6-pack of little shakers to keep in your purse or gym bag.
You carry around salt with you?
Of course.
Yes.
Respect.
And she's got whole milk down there.
I'm going to ask about the milk. I didn't give you milk for that coffee, so I don't know what happened there. I'm going to ask you that but in a second.
She carries it.
Okay, so you guys carry around salt.
You need to have salt. And now, if you look at what they don't talk about is all the studies of people who are on low salt diets or have a low salt diet and the issues that they run into, which is the exact same issues of disease, hypertension, blood pressure.
What a mess, man.
It's an absolute disaster. The whole system is a disaster. Our food pyramid that the government gives you is a disaster. It's all wrong.
So then where you're walking around with salt, why? Where are you putting that salt on?
Just on my meals.
Like what are you eating?
A burger. I have a burger and an apple in my lunch
bag. Where did that burger come from?
Burger.
I made it.
You made it from ground beef yourself?
Yes.
What's in the meat?
This is actually a nose to tail blend.
So good.
Okay. So there's organ meat in there?
Yeah. So it's an 80-20 blend. So I make those. Our family eats a pound of ground beef a day because I have a burger, he has a burger, and then the twins split a burger. So
wait till the twins are older and Malachi's older. You guys are gonna be eating 4 pounds of meat a day.
It's already a disaster. We, half a dozen eggs a day,
Whole Foods surprisingly has a really good quality ground beef, and it goes on sale sometimes. I'm there stocking up like crazy. The guy's like, "Why are you buying? What are you doing with all this?" But we'll have tacos, stir fry.
Oh, it's so versatile.
You can use it with anything. Carol will make like a Italian Italian, like a tomato sauce, like a meat sauce with it. So we just use it through everything.
Yeah,
My number
so good.
one Whole Foods sale meat hack is chuck steak. Totally underrated steak. It's so like, it's marbled, but it's not greasy, and it's not like you don't have to cook it for a really long time. Chuck steaks, sometimes they sell them in the roast and they go on sale, and it's like this huge roast like this for $20.
And what do you do with it?
I cut it into slices and I air fry it like a steak. I don't even cook it.
That'll
You could
air
cook
fry.
it like
that'll air fry pretty good.
Yeah.
How thick are the slices?
like an inch thick.
An inch.
Yeah.
An inch thick in the air fryer.
Yeah.
For how long?
12, 15 minutes.
Like
She
400 or something?
She likes her meat.
Three,
pretty
350,
rare.
360. Yeah.
And it comes out okay. I know Aiden
comes out nice and
Aiden
seared
cooks
on the
steak out in
outside.
the air fryer. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he might finish it on a pan on the stovetop.
If
You
you want
could.
to get that like crispy.
Okay,
I got
so
kids running around. I need to like a set it and forget it
So you're
situation.
eating that quick. Okay, so dinner,
Yeah.
let's say you have some meat on your plate and you have some good carb like rice or sweet potato or something like that, and then you have some vegetables.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
I'm going to come back to you about the vegetables because I have some questions. And then in the morning, so I had that for dinner. I get up in the morning. What ideally am I having for breakfast? Remember, not you guys who are like masters of everything, but for the typical average person, what are they having in the morning every day?
Eggs, smoothie.
Eggs?
Either or both, depending on.
Fried eggs or hard-boiled eggs?
I usually make like an omelet or scrambled eggs. Yeah, I made egg bites are
She
really
made
into
homemade
right now.
egg bites that I had this morning.
Okay.
Unreal good.
And then
So it's
how
like
many-
eggs
20
and
times better
cottage
than
cheese.
Starbucks.
So how about for a guy, 200 pounds, how many eggs in the morning?
3 to 4.
And then
Depending if you're adding
a
cheese
woman,
or
100,
ham.
100 and, I don't know, 25, 30 pounds, I don't know.
2 to 3.
2 to 3 eggs in the morning. And then what's in the smoothie?
Protein powder. So some people, like if you're not really working out a ton, that's where these variables kind of come into
Okay.
play. So there's like the supplements that are amazing for absolutely everyone. And then the more you work out, the more flexibility you have. And then the more of these like
So give me the
levels
baseline
you would sort of
everyone.
have. If I was just absolutely anyone,
Yep.
I probably wouldn't even necessarily use a whey protein unless you really want that vanilla flavor. I would for sure use collagen protein.
So collagen protein.
Yeah.
And there's fruit in my smoothie.
I
What's the
usually do like
base?
blueberries. Right now I'm really into avocado actually in my smoothies. So I don't normally eat a ton of avocado, but like
It makes
tastes
it like
good.
silky smooth.
What's the
Yeah,
base
yeah,
of it?
yeah.
Coconut water, water?
Just water.
Just water.
Yeah.
Water, ice?
I
it
don't like
cold?
ice,
No?
but the
Okay,
blueberries are frozen and the
blueberries.
avocado is often frozen.
I
Avocado?
do rice. Rice. I do ice because I like it a little more thick.
Me too. Yeah, I like the ice.
He-
Okay.
Sometimes his smoothies are like
Yeah, I like
spoon
spoon.
smoothies.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Collagen. And then, okay, so now I'm
Fruit.
working.
Yeah.
If I'm working out, what do I add on top of the collagen?
That's when you can have that whey protein because that's
Okay.
super beneficial
One
for
scoop.
building muscles. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big scoop whey. Usually
Male,
like 30
female,
grams.
doesn't matter, a scoop.
Just a scoop.
Throw
yeah.
a scoop in.
Yeah.
What else? Creatine?
Creatine, glutamine, those are like the number one supplements because creatine is the energy that you need for your
Okay.
workouts. Like it's not even about the fact that it helps you build muscle. That's honestly like a beneficial
Yeah.
byproduct of it. It just helps preserve any muscle that you have and it just gives you energy for your workout for life. So then if you can train harder, then you can build more muscle and experience
like
more
the
fitness
first-
benefits.
The first line of energy you get from your body is creatine ATP release.
Okay, what type of creatine?
So creatine monohydrate, which is if you're going to buy it, buy creatine monohydrate. It's the cheapest, but the most researched and
There's all kinds of mental benefits from it too.
yes. And for old people, just like if you want to keep whatever muscle you do have long term, it's so many benefits.
Okay, so the creatine's good for a 25-year-old and a 55-year-old.
100%.
Male, female.
For sure.
Yes?
For sure.
So that's my morning now. I had some eggs.
Yeah.
They're cooked in what? Butter?
Butter. Yeah, you could do coconut oil if you're not into butter.
Okay. And then I have the smoothie. And then what am I eating next and when?
Lunch. Some people like to do, we often do like a burger, sweet potato kind of lunch.
On a bun?
No.
Okay.
No.
Burger, just burger.
Burger, like burger patty, just
Okay.
because then it's like easy to eat.
Okay.
With some sweet potato, some fruit, maybe some cheese on that if you didn't have cheese with your eggs or some avocado.
On the burger front there, Primal Kitchen, Mark Sisson's brand, has a ketchup.
Yeah.
That is really, the ingredients on it are pretty good. Have you guys tried this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And they're his buffalo sauce for.
Is it good?
Oh, dude.
Really?
So
they
good.
sell it at Whole Foods now here in Oakville.
Yeah.
So I get the ketchup. My family doesn't like it at all.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love this because I haven't eaten ketchup in years because I wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
I refuse to eat the ketchup because I'm like, this is pure garbage. Yeah. But now I'm just scooping this stuff up. It's amazing.
The buffalo sauce is good. And then something else.
You know what? His avocado mayo or whatever it is.
Mayo.
But awesome. That's awesome too. Yeah. Okay. So lunch is like a burger. Could be a leftover from the night before or whatever.
Or it could be like a stir fry or a salad, you know, like some chicken and some nuts and fruit on a salad.
We also, we love
fresh.
We love root veg. So like beets and.
Yeah, that's usually dinner.
Chopped up in, what do you call it? Baked.
Yeah, that's dinner tonight is like new potatoes, like the baby potatoes with beets and parsnips.
Because all this roasted stuff, when it's all roasted with some butter and salt, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So caramelized.
Yeah. Okay, so then just on the lunch there for a second, I have that. What kind of nuts?
Almonds.
Roasted or not roasted?
Walnuts, pecans.
Roasted or not roasted?
Either or is fine. Yeah, as long as there's no oil in the roasting. So usually raw if you're just eating them on your own. I find one of the biggest problems that people make is they just don't have any carbs at their lunch because they're trying to be low carb for some reason.
It's a weird thought process, eh? It's like,
it seems very logical to me though, because I was like, oh, I'm trying to lose some weight.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't have some carb.
Yeah.
So for us, it just really comes down to energy sources. So if you eat carbs in the morning for breakfast, and I mean, I'm not talking about bread, just even berries are a carb source, right? Which is, we'd recommend fruit with your eggs or a smoothie. Then you've told your body that carbohydrates are fuel. And then all of a sudden for lunch, you're like, oh, I better eat healthy. I'm just going to have chicken salad. And then you've taken away your body's fuel source. Because you told your body when you woke up that morning and ate breakfast that carbs were fuel. So now you have this low carb lunch and your body is like, okay, now where's my energy? Where's my fuel? You took it away from me.
Why wasn't the other stuff fuel?
Because it's not the same. If your body's using
different speed?
If your body's using carbohydrates for fuel, then it needs to keep using carbohydrates for fuel.
So if you woke up and you just ate eggs and cheese and no carbohydrates, then you're going to become more fat adapted as your as your source of energy. And then your body just gets used to using that and then it's fine. But like if you're more carb adapted and you're teaching your body that the carbs are going to be your source of energy, when you go without it, then you're going to get hangry.
And it's okay for people to stay carb adapted and not go through a process of understanding, teaching their body to burn fat.
I think either way is fine, right? Would you agree? But you can't just be like flip-flopping all over the place. And there's more variety in having having carbs as your energy source. Because like some people just can't live that way for the rest of their life without having, some fruit, some potatoes, some rice.
You want to have metabolic flexibility the same way that you want to be a well-rounded athlete in the gym, right? So if you want to be keto, then it's like you have to never eat any carbs ever because it's like
keto for someone listening is just low carb.
Yeah, like almost zero carbs. Yeah,
and it's also not that high in protein because protein can be digested and turned into the same glycogen. So you have to keep your protein kind of medium low, carbs non-existent, and your fat really high, which is like how, like to me, it's like that's not a sustainable way of life for most people. Right?
Yeah, and most people do it wrong because most people aren't eating 70% of their
and they do
calories
something
from
called
fat.
dirty keto.
Yeah,
they're just buying like keto muffins.
Okay, so when I went through this process, like I then went into this whole keto thing where my throat was dry, and I bought a keto thing where I could breathe into it to make sure I was burning ketones to understand that. So I was curious, is my body burning carbohydrates right now for fuel, or are there ketones in my blood? Where would it be measuring ketones? I don't know. The ketones are somewhere.
It's the same. Breath and urine.
In my breath and in my urine. I remember the urine strips, but I brought this breathalyzer thing to just see if I was being ketogenic. And I was eating a lot of fat. Like that's the time where I was having my, like those bulletproof coffees. And instead of 2 tablespoons of fat, did I ever tell you this? I probably did 6 months of 6 tablespoons of fat.
Oh, geez. That's a lot of calories.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
So like
but you know
butter
what? I'll tell you.
Butter and
so I would get the butter stick, Kerrygold butter.
Yeah.
And the reason I got up to 6 tablespoons is I wasn't eating any fat for like 20 years before that. And I'm telling you, when I went to this, my body was telling me more fat.
Yeah.
And then after about 10 months or a year of that, it was like, okay, you are like cut.
Topped out.
It topped out. It like completely topped out, but I forced it.
Yeah.
I forced it another 3 months.
Yeah.
And that's when my cortisol levels started getting messed up. And I ran into Dr. Cowan, and he took my cortisol reading and he's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I guess okay. He goes, no, man, look at this. And my cortisol levels in the morning, you know the way it's supposed to come up gradually in the morning, then peak and come down. I forget where I was, but I think I was flat. I think I was basically flatlined all day.
So you had like no cortisol.
He had no cortisol, and he's like, look, you got to get off the coffee. You got to stop everything. You got to reset. So I have a personality problem where I just get obsessive compulsive about certain things.
Me too.
So that now I know, but I feel like there was an era where my body was craving the fat. But the good thing about that, the first 2 weeks where I went to that type of diet, I went through this weird I would call it a carb flu, where I had 2 weeks of foggy brain. I felt like I was having the flu, like really getting the flu. I had no energy. I was
getting the sweats even.
The sweats. It was, I thought there was something wrong with me, but for whatever reason, I kept going. And my body, I think over the next couple of weeks and months changed, where I could burn fat for energy. And I could tell I could burn fat for energy because I was eating fat, hardly any carb, tiny little bit of fruit, like very small amount of carb. And I was operating. I was going to the cross. I was doing it, but it wasn't optimal. But that, I think, taught my body to be flexible. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm now actually burning fat. And ever since then, I think my body is able to burn both. Carb or fat. Would that make sense if you hear that from me, or no? Does that sound like bullshit?
No,
no,
it's true. It's true. We just want people to be able to do it like more in moderation without having to go like super.
Through what you went through.
Yeah, I went through, it was bad. It was bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't have any clients left.
No. But some of your clients are going to have problems. I'm one of the people that have problems. Go out easy on the carb is good. How about no carb for a year? Is that better?
No, that's how our brains are wired.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Totally. Okay, so we got our way to lunch, and you described lunch. And then anything, is there a snack before dinner or anything?
Well, so if you didn't have those carbs with your lunch, then you're going to get that afternoon crash. And that's when people are reaching for the candy, for the chocolate, for the coffee, right? Because your body's like, hey, you didn't give me any energy. So some people like to have a snack, or for me, I like to add it like right on the end of your dessert, or like on your lunch, like dessert. Like it could be like, like an apple and a handful of those nuts, right? Just enough to give you that dessert taste. So it could be whether it's a snack or not really is going to depend more on your schedule, right? Like if you're coming to work out in the afternoon like you are, then it's like, you have your lunch, and then you'd probably feel good if you had a little bit snack before you came and did your workout. Whereas if you worked out in the morning, then you probably had your shake like after your workout instead of before. So then your lunch is probably a little bit later. So you probably don't need a snack to get you to dinner, unless for some reason you're having your dinner like super late.
Got it.
I have personally, I eat like full out meals.
Right before working out?
Like, no, just like where you're talking about
two lunches. Yeah. He has two lunches.
Big breakfast,
two breakfasts,
post-workout shake, two lunches, like full meals. So
but
like the more that you're
because I think you're burning a lot of calories.
Yeah. But it could be somebody, for instance, if you're listening and you're a construction worker or you're a landscaper, it's the same thing. Like those, you have such a big output on a daily basis. You have to replenish what that output is. So you need more, like bigger meals.
Why do you have to?
Otherwise, you're just going to be in a large calorie deficit over a long period of time, which will lead to a whole bunch of hormonal, all kinds of issues.
As soon as you eliminate those processed foods, your calorie count drops drastically. People that are eating real whole foods, it's hard to get over that 2,000, 2,500 calorie mark. It's hard.
And so you get the protein.
You have to eat so much food, and people don't. And then they end up like either under eating or, trying to eat super clean and not eating enough, and then making up for it later with some sort of binge.
And under eating, I think, is a problem, because I think people will think they're eating too much protein. And I've come to learn that like I can't eat enough protein every day. Like maybe one day I'll eat enough protein, but I won't hit it every day. How much protein for men and women is like a ballpark enough? I don't know what criteria you want to use, but can you give an example? Yeah,
we use our palm as like a palm size serving guide. And so it's a wide range. It's 1 to 2 palms at your 3 meals a day, right? So like, that's why if Dan's having like...
Sorry, each meal?
Yeah, 1 to 2 palms. So like, that's why Dan's having like 6 probably palm-sized servings. Like you're not having double palm servings at each meal. Like
I think the
it's hard to
breakfast, lunch, dinner would be double palm, and then the ones in the middle would be single palm.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're having a lot of protein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's like 225 grams a day. Plus, because I'm also taking protein shakes.
What's one chicken breast in grams?
It's somewhere between 35 to 45, depending how big they
And you're having 225 grams a day?
grams a day. Yeah.
Yeah. So like at minimum, we want 3 palm-sized servings a day because that'll get you about 100 grams of protein.
At minimum.
Yeah. Everyone should be having a minimum 100 grams
That
of
would
protein.
be for like a female, in my opinion.
And you know what makes me cry is like the recommended for kids is like 15 grams of protein. And my kids
That's
eat
absolutely not.
my kids eat like easily 60 to 80 grams of protein a day.
Why is it a crime?
Because it's so
Undernourished.
essential. It's so essential.
Like all the amino acids in the
amino
meat?
acids, and even just
But
all the
not only
vitamins
that,
and minerals
the
that go along
vitamins and
with it.
minerals, man.
And then again, what are they displacing those calories? Because to me, everyone needs that same amount of food. Like kids, like toddlers, need 1,000 to 1,500 to 1,500 calories a day. And that's just like a 2-year-old that's busy. So then why would a grown adult think that they only need 1,200 calories a day?
Typically, when we see people who are under eating, like clients who come to us, who are like, I've been on a diet for however long, I haven't lost any weight. They're eating like 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day, which is like literally my 2-year-old will eat.
So they're not losing weight because the body's saying, I better hold on to the weight I have.
Starving for how long?
So I don't want to let go of the weight I have because you're not feeding me enough. So holy shit, man, this is like a protective mechanism now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because again, it's that metabolism. It's like your body's saying, where is my fuel?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to use for fuel? You're not giving me any fuel.
You know what the cool thing is about doing it right is your body's so flippin' smart. When you do it right, you look good, you're leaner, you feel good. If the food you're eating isn't making you feel good, perform well, doing your job better, then you're doing something wrong. You're not eating enough, or you're not eating enough of good food. So like any diet that's preaching for you to be in some type of absurd, calorie deficit or cut out whole food groups I just can't get behind it unless there's like some underlying health issue that you're trying to deal with. Then that's like a separate topic. But for the normal human being, they should actually eat more than they think. They should move more than they think, and they should feel way better than they feel.
When we're over in Croatia for a month, when I'm like on my bare feet on the beach for a month and I'm eating liver and fresh fish and olive oil and like really fresh vegetables, I feel like I can run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like I feel like after a good meal, like I'll have this liver that they make for me. I have this liver and I have these little fish. They're like this big and I eat like 30 of them. They're like French fries, but they just caught them like that the day before or that morning. So I'll have all these French fried fish and liver. I feel like I can feel the nutrition coursing through my body. I'm not even joking. I know how that sounds ridiculous. And if you do that for a month, I swear, I feel like sometimes I can run through a brick wall. I'm like, holy shit. I feel, because you're getting sunshine. You're in the salt water. You're swimming. You're moving. You're grounding your feet. You're eating healthy food. And that's even with mixing in some wine and some espresso and stuff. And I still feel like, holy shit, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay. On that food, what about dairy and stuff? Like butter, we mentioned, good. It's a good fat. What did you just put in your coffee here?
Well, that's whole milk that I get from the farm.
Okay, so you carry around salt and whole milk in your purse?
I do.
She
yes,
does.
sir.
So you put that in your coffee? I know, because we don't have any. I didn't give you any milk. I don't know there's milk in this coffee. So and the reason for the dairy is that another healthy fat?
Yeah, healthy fat and just natural food. We recommend all of our clients have yogurt.
Yeah, it's a fat, carb, and protein. Like it's a full
nature's
spectrum.
whole food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whole milk, which is like controversial. I know last time you were, I think.
Well, it's whole raw milk, which is the raw milk is the controversial part to it all. They're gonna come after us now.
So you're walking around with an illegal substance.
Contraband.
Well, no, we've figured out the legal way of doing it in Ontario. Which there is a way, and we deal it.
And on that note, okay, so any other you deal with
and by
milk?
deal it, I'm actually serious because they come to our gym and sell it out of our gym.
So raw milk is okay. What else are we missing that you're doing? Anything else? We covered it. No, any snacking that we didn't cover?
You should mention, sorry, I cut you off, but you were saying yogurt. I think Greek yogurt is like the ultimate dessert hack. High protein. Will kill that kind of sugar craving. If you're like, for me, it's my nighttime go-to because I don't know about you, but I used to, as a kid, like to sit down with a little bit of ice cream after dinner and watch sports or whatever. But some vanilla Greek yogurt, right? A little bit of honey or some raspberries, and you're less than 300 calories, and you feel like you just had dessert. And a ton of protein. Again, that's like another like 17 to 20 gram hit right there.
And so some of the big questions that we get are people like, okay, well, do we have to eat like plain 0% Greek yogurt? And it's like, well, probably not actually, because if the only sugar that you're adding to your day is that little bit of vanilla cane sugar that you're having in your yogurt at the end of the day, or some honey or some maple syrup, like have that. If that's what's going to stop you from eating a bag of chips, from crushing a bag of candy, you know what I mean? If that's like the worst part of your diet is the cane sugar in your Greek yogurt, you know what I mean? Then like that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Yeah, the things I've learned over the years, if I'm really craving something, if I have a spoonful of coconut oil, like that MCT oil, it kicks the craving. I don't know, just that hit of fat. If I really want to go splurge, if I have a little bit of honey on a spoon, that's like awesome. Maple syrup, because Dan, I think, taught me about oatmeal. I didn't think you could have oatmeal when you're trying to like, I think we were like we were on this plan where you were getting our body fat down, and I was having oatmeal every other morning. And if I had no berries, I was like, oh shit, I guess I'm just going to go the maple syrup route. And it didn't really destroy me. Like I felt like it was kind of okay.
Maple syrup's great.
Yeah.
And it has a bunch
so
of
natural.
Yeah. It's like
so to me, that's like a treat, like oatmeal with maple syrup. I'm like, that's like a dessert and I get to eat this and this is fine. So I think once you find, those are like the key things I had to find with the dark chocolate and the almond butter and stuff that really made eating clean. I don't know if it's clean or whole foods really easy. Mm-hmm. And it stopped all my snacking. Yeah. I generally don't need what I just described. It's very rare. Yeah. It'll be like when Dan's programming maybe a heavy lifting day for us, or relatively heavy for us. That night or sometimes the next day, I'll really feel like some oatmeal with some maple syrup or some berries, because I'm like, holy smokes, like I really feel like my body's like needs this now. Yeah. That's the other thing of going through this. Sorry, Rachel, you learn with your body, like with your nutrition planning that we've done at it's an 8-week challenge now, but I did the 12-week challenge.
Yeah, when we first started. Yeah, we're too soft to do that anymore.
When we did the 12-week challenge, I think I did almost die.
Yeah, I think we almost killed you on the
Yeah, I think everybody else should try it, but don't do it. But it was willingly. I wanted to do what I did. It was a workout. But anyway, what I learned through those 12 weeks is that, holy like shit, I can actually eat really well. And my body fat, I forget what it was at the beginning. Maybe it was 18%. I don't know. But Dan got me down to like, for me, 9.9. I think I just slipped under 10. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, okay, that for me was a little off. Like I felt better around 12% body fat. Yep. But I got down and I was eating really well. Like I don't feel like I was starving myself. Maybe at the end to try to get that little bit to dip under 10%. But overall, I was eating like a champ and my body fat was coming down. Dr. Cowan, the naturopathic doctor, mentioned something to me. He said, your metabolism is now trained to burn the calorie because you're bringing in healthy calories. It doesn't feel like it has to hold on to them. Mm-hmm. So it'll burn them. It won't hold on to the weight, even though you're eating quite a bit of calories, because I told him what I was eating, like a lot of protein and berries and stuff. He goes, your body's that's what it needs for energy. And it's not storing it anymore. It's just kind of like cycling it through, whatever the proper term he used was. Mm-hmm.
No, exactly. And that's why
that's the beautiful place to be.
Yeah. We want our clients to have metabolic flexibility so that they're not locked into, oh shoot, I ate some carbs. Now it's going to take me 2 weeks to get back into ketosis. And then you also don't want to be on the flip side where you have to have like your blood sugar
shots of sugar all day to keep yourself
because if you have like a big meal that's got more carbs than protein or fat or vegetables with it, if you have this big carb meal, then you've got this big spike of blood sugar, your insulin comes in to knock it down, and then that's when you get hangry.
Like shit.
Because your blood sugar has plummeted. So that's why you've got to eat again to get it back up, and then you're on this blood sugar roller coaster. Whereas when you have these meals that have fruit and vegetables and meat and fat with them, then your blood sugar stays nice and stable. And you work out really hard, and then you get to reload your carb stores. And when you wake up in the morning, you're fasting. So everyone is burning fat overnight. Because you're not eating carbs, your body already ran out of the carbs in your blood sugar. So everyone, when you wake up in the morning, is burning fat.
How long does it take to get to that state for new people that you guys coach? But to get them off the up and down, is it almost immediate when they start eating the way you're saying, or does it take a couple of weeks?
As soon as they actually do it.
Yeah.
Because some people because they don't believe it when you give them a nutrition plan, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't believe they can eat what they're eating. Is that why?
Well, and sometimes they have a bit of trouble like figuring out the process.
Either they just have bad habits of snacks, or they don't get the meal prep done. That's a big one.
Meal prep. Like, but if they're following it 100%, it happens in the first week. Typically, most people will message me and be like, "I'm not hungry at all," because they're not used to eating that much protein.
But sometimes then you'll still say eat.
100%.
And why are you saying that?
Because their body's going to build up the enzymes they need in their stomach to digest that food and use it as fuel. So it just has to go through that process.
It's like how it took your body that year.
But I already know from doing a body scan with them, kind of how many calories just for them to be alive in a day, which is way more than people typically think. And then I know how much they work out, and I know how much they're moving. So I know that we put them in a slight caloric deficit so they can lose weight, but not an extreme one, just somewhere in the 250 to 500 calories a day. And so I know that they're feeling full, which is great. And it's a good thing. But I also know that we're not overfeeding them, and that eventually in 3 weeks, they're going to be like, oh, I'm getting hungry. Like, okay, now your metabolism's kicking up. Your body's using the protein. It knows how to digest it. And now we're moving in the right.
It's almost like you can't trust your body right away. And you have to just, really lean into it. But then if you do, then you can listen to your body, and you can listen to your hunger cues, and you can say, okay, my body's craving this, or I need this for energy, or I'm not craving this anymore.
You want to do a real test on like learning how a real craving is fast. I did a 72-hour fast last week, and all I craved at the end was
salt,
a rotisserie chicken, dude. That's all I wanted. I didn't want sugar.
Yes.
I didn't want that. The only thing I could think about, I'm like, I want
off that chicken,
fat of that chicken, and I want the whole chicken. That's all I could think about. And that's not a typical craving, but that was a real craving at that point. You know what I mean? Like when people are having I'm craving a Big Mac. That's an addiction.
Have you had the barbecue chicken at Stack Barbecue at Oakville Place?
No, is that? Yeah.
Oh my God, go try that chicken at Stack Barbecue. I didn't have it because I've been getting like brisket and stuff there. I didn't try the chicken. It's amazing. You're going to love it. Yeah. They get it fresh from the farm.
Amazing.
Fresh from the farm. They smoke it and barbecue it there. It's amazing. Anyway.
Yeah. If you want to reset what a real craving is, just fast for 24 hours. Most people, 72 hours is a bit on the extreme side for the first time, but do a 24-hour fast and then just really internalize, what am I actually craving to eat right now?
Something you surprised me with was last year you gave Mike and I some programming, and I think you measured us at the beginning, and then a few weeks in you measured and you're like, hey, dude, you're not gaining any muscle here. How much protein are you eating? And at that time, for whatever reason, I got off the protein shakes. I don't know why I got off them. And I told you, and you're like, oh no, man, you got to get back on there. And it was surprising for me to hear, because I was eating protein, but I still wasn't eating enough protein where my body didn't build muscle. Yeah. So what was happening there? I was still eating steaks and stuff. I just didn't have enough building blocks to build new muscle. Yeah.
Or enough, like a combination of the building blocks to build muscle and calories. Because I program your workouts, I knew how the workouts I gave you were breaking down muscle like crazy. So if you didn't have the resources to rebuild, which with the amount of volume I was giving you was at least 1 gram per pound a day, which is what I had programmed and you weren't following.
No.
As soon as I see that, I know immediately I'm like, he's not eating the protein. That enough.
Because then I added.
You were eating enough to sustain what you had, but with the workouts we were doing, you should have been building muscle but it changed, right?
And that's what nobody believes when I share with them, especially guys that don't know this stuff. I tell them you can't eat enough protein. That's like my basic guidance. I'm like, whatever protein you think you're eating, it's not nearly enough. Yeah. And that confuses people because they're like, well, I had 1 egg and a chicken breast yesterday. I'm like, that's nothing.
That's breakfast.
Yeah.
But you can. It's almost self-limiting. Do you think you could actually sit there and eat a 32-ounce steak more than once?
No.
Never.
Yeah.
That's
what's great about protein. Horrible. You can eat it and then you're satiated and you're full and you don't want any more.
And out of all, there's 3 macronutrients, there's protein, fat, and carbs. Out of all 3, it takes more energy for your body to digest it. So it automatically boosts your metabolism just by consuming it. It's a metabolism hack. And you don't have to do anything except for enjoy chewing on it.
So eating more protein makes your metabolism work harder. You burn more calories. And you're eating healthy food.
Yep. And you crave less of the crap.
That's the other thing I noticed.
such a
I
hack.
generally don't need any snacks anymore.
Yeah,
like
which is good.
my snacking just
is-
kind of went away.
Snacking's a horrible issue because not only are you're not getting satiated, you're eating mindlessly, typically out of emotion or something, and then your stomach is not having time in between meals to like digest and clear stuff out, which is not good for you. You're not supposed to be grazing and eating all day long. You should be working or doing something. That's how we were like designed, you know.
Well, and your body does actually burn fat and should be able to tap into those fat stores for energy in between your meals. So you have your meal and it tops up all your stores, your protein, your carbs, your fat. And then once the carbs that you ate in your meal have been cleared normally from your blood sugar, then you're in that fat burning zone. It's always running in the background, that fat burning. But if you're constantly up and down the blood sugar roller coaster, then you never get the time to be able to tap into that fat burning zone outside of your fast while you're sleeping. So that's why we say, like, have these balanced meals that don't have too many carbs in them unless it's right around your workout. And that's why you can have a couple extra carbs around your workout. And then the rest of the time, it's just a normal serving size of rice, potatoes, fruit at your meal. So you get that balanced energy, but your body can go in and out of using carbs for fuel and fat as fuel.
Imagine if our school system taught us this stuff right from the beginning.
And don't even get me.
We wouldn't even, I swear to you, we would need not even half the medical care system we have today.
What about, I'm agreeing. What about liquids? We didn't talk about it. Coffee you drink.
Yes.
Coffee's okay.
To an extent, coffee can be, so if you, caffeine after noon for most people is not going to help you sleep, and sleep is something that is undervalued and typically people don't get enough of. So whatever you can do to make your sleep, optimized, I do it. So I would cut caffeine by noon. And then the other thing that coffee will do if you drink too much of it is dehydrate you, because it's you're going to start to get rid of magnesium, salt, potassium out of your system. And so you need to drink more water and take more electrolytes if you're drinking a lot of coffee.
What are the electrolytes?
So what I just said: sodium, magnesium, potassium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those, you need those. Your muscles need those. Your brain needs those. Your heart needs it to function, to be alive, to do everything. And if you are dehydrated, if you can just Google like percentage of performance loss per percentage of dehydration, and the numbers are like crazy. Like for every percent you're dehydrated, you're like a couple percent less like cognitive function.
And you can't just drink water. You need these minerals.
No, you need the minerals. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we are telling people to add salt when they're eating this kind of healthy diet. Like you have to add salt to all your meals. Like it's an essential. But
you can even add salt to your water.
Yeah, it's not something that we produce in our bodies naturally. We have to consume it. So
okay. And then so tea.
Yeah.
He's okay. The biggest problem that I see with coffee is people use it as a meal replacement. So their coffee is either actually a milkshake with like,
or it has 6 tablespoons
It's a kid's drink.
of butter.
Listen, butter, that was my own personal problem. For 6 months, it was fine. I just overdid it. Okay.
But yeah, your caramel macchiato is not coffee.
I was Mike sitting right behind you. I was making fun of Mike about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, because he had his coffee and then he put some milk from the store in it and then some sugar in it. I'm like, oh, that's a nice kid's drink you're making. What kind of children's drink are you drinking over there? What is that concoction?
And then they'll put whipped cream and drizzle caramel on top for you.
Okay.
But just drinking a black coffee all the time is still the same problem, because now your body's trying to get energy from you. Right? You're having this drink and your body's like, okay, great, energy's coming. But there's no energy coming. It's just that fake energy from caffeine. So your body starts to freak out and it's like, okay, I needed energy. And so it's like in the morning, oh, I'm not going to have breakfast. I'm just going to have a coffee.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but your body needs breakfast.
It's a
your
shallow energy.
Yeah, exactly. Or in the afternoon, like you didn't have enough food with your lunch. You didn't have any carbs with your lunch. You need energy. So you're going for a coffee, but like you actually just need food.
Mm-hmm. Which, and also like you could end up with cortisol issues if you're relying on that as your source of energy throughout the day.
I think it's almost good.
It's not bad, but I would definitely get a good it's it's bad when you abuse it. It's not bad if you have a cup of coffee with your breakfast and then maybe a mid-morning one with your snack.
I think if somebody does this and they go and meet a naturopathic doctor that's going to check their cortisol levels, it's actually really beneficial, because if you do, like with you guys, I think it's great. You could do your weight, your body fat percentage, how much lean muscle you have. So if you have that data and you can get cortisol data as well while you're doing this, I personally, even though I screwed up multiple times, now I feel like I'm kind of sort of okay.
Yeah.
I learned so much from the screw ups.
Oh,
like if I didn't
100%.
have all that butter and that's like, I learned so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was doing all the right things with this keto thing. I way screwed that up.
Yeah.
And then I kind of learned from you when you laid out the nutrition plan, and then Rachael learning from you. You kind of have to go through your own journey. And what I wanted before was I wanted the magic pill, because I wanted, like I'm a biohacker, so just tell me the 3 supplements. No, you know what I mean? It was hey, just give me the 3 supplements to take. And then when I learned from you guys, like, you kind of have to rewind. Like if you don't have the right protein and carbs and fat mixture, you can't really throw any pills, even if they're healthy nootropics, into the mix. You got to fix the baseline. And I actually hated hearing that, because I thought that was work. I'm like, oh shit, like I got to go figure out my whole diet. But then when you do that, I can now say from doing it, not that I'm perfect at it by any means, but when you're in those moments where things are really dialed in, you feel on fire. Yeah. Like you feel it.
Well, that's why those biohacker guys are so rich and we're so poor.
We sell hardware.
They get to sell you the easy magic pill, and then we have to try to sell you all the
Whole
hard
foods.
work that you have to do to actually make it happen. So
then how does, like when you work with someone, how many weeks would it take to get somebody kind of straight? Is that why you do is the nutrition planning the same as the 8-week challenge? Is it a 8-week process or no?
No, the 8-week challenge is kind of taking our nutrition club and like condensing it into a hard 8-week form. The nutrition club is it's a way of life. So I wouldn't put somebody on our 8-week challenge for life. I think it's good. Like I did that 3-day fast. I think I should do that once a year. So like 8-week challenge is a good thing to do once a year to get dialed in,
and learn. You learn about yourself.
You learn so much about yourself, or maybe you do it before you go on vacation because you want to look like super shredded, whatever. But the nutrition club is like, spend the year becoming in tune with yourself, what your body needs, how you feel good, how you perform well, how you sleep better. Like that's
all that fine tuning that you find as you start to go through the process, just like you did over your year, right? Of seeing like what's actually working for me. Everyone naturally has a different baseline of their like carb to fat balance, right? So he's just like more naturally, like he's a well-muscled beanpole, right? So he's gonna.
That's like the most. That's the nicest, meanest thing you've ever seen.
I know Dan doesn't want to be called a beanpole.
Listen,
I know Dan long enough.
I always tell everyone, like, when
Nick's going to be so happy you called him that.
I know. But when we started dating, he was like 225. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up? But when he first came into the gym, he was a beanpole. He was like 180 pounds.
Yeah, were you?
I was. Yeah. Well, I was fighting.
Well, I know, but I didn't give him the time of day. So when he comes back and he's got all this muscle, I'm like, okay, hey, what's up? And then now he's back to beanpole status.
First of all, I'm not 180 pounds. We found the middle ground, Tom. 205 is where I'm at, and that's a good.
I like how you're not saying 199. It's always you're over 200. Have you noticed that about your husband? It's always 2 something. It's never 198 or 190.
Right. No, it better not be 199.
I'll give you this. During the training for the 12-hour ride, I was 195.
Were you?
That's the lowest I've been since I was fighting. And then after that fast, I was 199. But I was a solid 203 pounds this morning. So
there we go.
I think that's the good middle ground. 225,
Where
I feel
were we?
too
You
big.
said he called him a beanpole. We got off track. What were you saying?
Oh, so he
nutrition
just
club.
Because again, he's got, like just a much higher carb tolerance because he's got all this muscle. He's so active and busy, and he has the body type for it. Whereas other people are more naturally predisposed to fat adaptation. And sometimes that comes with a certain body type, or sometimes it's just, like whatever your lifestyle happens to be.
Or like, genetics too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like naturally my ratio of carbs to fat is always going to be higher in fat and lower in carbs. That's just what feels good for me, that I've been able to experiment with. And then he knows that he feels better if he's eating more carbs and a little bit less fat. But so when our clients come in, we have to help them find that,
and
right?
How does that work? So you give them a plan and then you just kind of talk to them every week?
And then we tweak as we go. And so
weekly?
Every single week.
Every
Absolutely.
week you adjust.
Yeah.
And most of the time have to talk off of ledges and all kinds of stuff.
Is it like the 12-week challenge nutrition plan? You're like, here's the spreadsheet of what you're eating every day.
Yep.
You can get a lot more flexibility with the nutrition club, especially when you know that you're going into it for a whole year, right? In terms of like the 8-week challenge is like really, really precise, dialed in. This is exactly like today's pineapple day. Everyone's on the group chat like, it's pineapple day.
Okay.
Woo!
So the nutrition club is something you run and people remotely can reach out to you and say, hey, Rachel,
Yes.
set me up.
Yes,
And you work with
exactly.
people for how long?
It's either 4 months or a year.
Okay.
4 months to start. Some people like to continue on for the year, but it's got to be at least 4 months to start because we have to have time to ride this roller coaster. And the biggest problem I see with most women coming in is they're actually eating too little. So we have to almost reverse diet them out of this deficit that they've made themselves in.
So they could be holding on to weight that they don't want to be holding on to because they're eating too little.
and
Exactly.
and
Their metabolism stress.
They also have mental issues built around eating because there's
Oh, got it. Because they think eating more is going to put
make
more
them fat.
weight on them.
Yeah.
And they're not eating enough protein and yeah, exactly.
And
too
they
many
get in-
processed foods, too many protein
And
bars.
they think lifting weights is going to make them bulky, but it's not going to, right? Is that
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But for sure, it's all part of the same kind of what media and social media has spun on people is like for whatever look they perceive they need to have.
So most people, women or men, could eat more and look better.
No, most guys coming in are eating too much.
Yeah.
Oh, so women aren't eating enough.
Yes.
Most
Men are eating too much, all the wrong junky
all the
calories.
wrong
Yeah,
things, and
exactly.
and both are not eating enough protein.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And typically men will underestimate what they're eating and always tell me, for some reason, come in, way overweight and tell me that they do everything right. And I'm like, no, dude, there's no way.
Now I've been working. Now I've been around long enough that I've seen people do that to you, and even I can tell. Like I can hear it now.
It's always like, I eat so healthy, I don't understand. I'm like, all I need you to do is take 3 days and just write down everything you put in your mouth, and then when I get it, I'm like, wow, if this is the definition of healthy, I don't know what this world has done to people. But again, going back to we should have. Kids should learn about real nutrition in school.
Well, yeah, like our kid that, is there soy in this protein bar? I don't want it. Is there artificial flavors?
My 6-year-old will go to a birthday party and he'll see that the icing on the cake is neon green and he'll say, no, I'm okay. He'll come home and be like, Daddy, they were serving cake with artificial sweeteners.
Oh, wow.
In flavors.
That's next level. I think the hardest thing for me would be travel. And in travel, I try to take beef jerky, or if I just happen to make steak or something, I'll just pack it and then I'll just cut it up in slices in a Ziploc bag. And then on the plane, I'll eat my steak.
For sure.
I'll bring dark chocolate with me.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Mix.
Lately I've been going off nuts again. I go through these weird things.
They're easy to overeat.
I overeat them.
Yeah. So you're like a black and white.
Yeah. Like if I see a thing of almonds in front of me, I will eat the whole, whatever size, doesn't matter. I'm going to eat all the almonds, especially if there's some dark chocolate next to it. I'm like, okay, this is done.
Yeah.
But those RX bars I find at the airport that are like egg whites and dates and stuff, it's probably the best thing I could find at the airport.
For sure.
Or I'll order any steak. Like if there's like a Irish pub or whatever they have at the airport, I'm just going to order whatever steak is on the menu. Doesn't matter. And then lately I cheat, not even cheat, but I'll have the fries, but I know that's not the best, but I'll always order the meat.
If you're in a pinch, like at Starbucks, you can get egg bites.
Those are good. I've had those.
There's always yogurt. There's cheese sticks. There's
They're getting
fruit and
way better.
snack box.
Yeah,
there's
the
a
egg bites are
charcuterie
good.
box. There's all kinds.
And you can
of stuff.
usually buy hard-boiled eggs now at different airports and stuff. So
Then there's typically a booster juice if you're looking for some fruit.
the booster juice is fantastic. Yeah, I love that.
You can get protein in it. You can ask them for extra protein too.
Yeah.
If you want. So
the where I personally go well off is Carol and Sienna. They just are great bakers. So they'll bake healthy. Like it's great eggs, great butter. Like the ingredients are pretty good, but then there's going to be whatever mix that makes the actual cake or whatever. And I'll just go nuts on it. Like I'll just eat way too much of that kind of stuff.
But it's better than consuming something that's just made.
Oh, no, for sure. Like Carol makes this amazing banana bread and I'll just devour it.
Yeah.
And so I still now just kind of know how my body works, but percent body fat for guys, is it normal? Like, I know Ruben's here talking about trying to get to a certain body because him and his brother are in some competition. They're in a competition. We don't even talk about the competition.
They've both been to my gym to scan themselves.
Radix has this thing where it measures your body fat percentage. They're both in there weighing, and I think Austin's in there too. But for a guy, is it typically like 12 to 16%, or is it every guy's different?
Everybody's different for sure. And
So it could be less than 12 is okay for a lot of people.
For some people, yeah. Genetically, if you're more of a lean body type, and you're just a higher burner, or you have something like a very active job, then yeah, you could be lower than that and feel normal. But I think healthy, a guy 12 to 16 is healthy, right?
Yeah, for sure. For women, that number's higher.
Most guys want to be like in the single digits so they can see all their abs is like pretty much it. But that doesn't mean they're any more healthy. Yeah. So, and then for the females,
it's like 18 to 24%.
18 to 24.
Yeah.
I know we're generalizing.
Yeah.
And the other thing
that's a big window, right? Like 18 to 24 is a big window. 18 is like abs. 24 is just like a normal walking around.
And then I have
person.
we have one female athlete in the gym who's like 16%.
Okay.
But then you have to be very careful.
Because you can go too low.
You go too low, they lose their ability to have their monthly time and all kinds of stuff. Hormonal problems.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing, even like a guy, like when my hormones are off, like I feel like shit.
Like you just preaching to the choir here. I destroyed my hormones and I was so lean for so long.
Well, and again, that's why we want that year-long lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like use the challenge, get to a point where you're like good, but then like how do you maintain that? You know what I mean? How do you...
For most people being in the single, or most guys being in the single digits is not a sustainable life.
It's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like the payoff for the amount of work that it takes isn't worth it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I found a lot of benefit from doing the DNA testing as well, because then you see how your body processes coffee. Mm-hmm. So you know how you were talking, don't have it in the afternoon, and alcohol. Like I'm a slow processor of alcohol, which makes sense to me. But some of my buddies can have like, I swear to God, 20 drinks, and the next day they're like up golfing at 6 a.m.
Their bodies
but they process alcohol very differently, right? So I think those new DNA tests that have that information, I don't think it's the holy grail of information, but when you marry it together with the nutrition data from our nutrition plans that you're doing, and like an 8-week challenge on like, physical exertion at the gym or whatever you're doing at your home gym, and some of this other information, cortisol tests and DNA tests, you can finally get a pretty good picture of how your body works. Yep. I'll never forget when I was a kid and I took my Thunderbird to Mr. Lube, and Mr. Lube would print out a printout of like, here's all like your windshield washer fluids and oil fluids. And
you had a Thunderbird, eh?
Oh yeah, it was great. I got light covers, a bra tint on it. It was white. Yeah, like I destroyed that thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, the tow truck driver finally at the very end just took it away. Carol and I were in a snowstorm, and the car died. The transmission died for the last time. And the tow truck driver came, and I said, "How much do you want for it?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm done with this car. How much do you want? I'll sign the ownership right now." Yeah. I think he gave me $100, and I'm like, "Keep driving." Yeah. And I called a friend. Like cell phones were barely a thing back then, but I got through to a friend. It was a blizzard, and he picked us up at the side of the road and drove us home. I had no car. I just drove that thing right into the ground. Good. But when you have all this data, you can kind of assemble things in a pretty good form. But my Mr. Lube example was like, we get this stuff for our cars. You don't have it for your body.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why people are left Googling stuff and finding any Joe
and you
Blow
have no
on the internet.
When you don't
there's no context. There's no data, and there's no coach to like bring, like not even the accountability, but bring the perspective.
Googling what you should do for your nutrition is like, if you like bang your wrist and you put it in Google and it tells you that you have like wrist cancer, you know what I mean? Like it's just nonsense. So plus like the amount of people trying to make a lot of money off of you out there is,
insane.
And people will always get more views, more likes, the more extreme that view is, right? So if my personal opinion is, if it's super extreme, just try something with balance first. And if that doesn't work, then start to move into some type of extreme if you must. But typically balance is the best way, and it works long term. The amount of people who have come to me and be like, I did keto for 3 months, I lost 20 pounds and then I gained back 30 is like absurd.
Oh, wow.
Because they start to binge and they go crazy.
And they lose their metabolic flexibility. Yeah. They lose their body's ability to move in and out of energy systems.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the person here at this office when he was eating the protein scoop. Like he's on the right path, and I can see the journey that people go on now because I was there. Yeah. And I'd be asking Rachael and you, Dan. I'm like, Rachael, I don't know, like, am I allowed to eat this? And I think one day she finally just felt sorry for me. She's like, read this book. Like, and that was the Primal Blueprint.
Primal Blueprint, yeah.
And I remember also going to Rachael one time and saying, I don't eat carb anymore. And she's like, listen, you don't eat grains anymore, but like there's carb in fruit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's mind blowing. I didn't realize there's carbohydrate in fruit.
Yeah.
You know, like just where people are, you know, that's where I was.
But it's
so
also,
it's like laughable looking back now, but that's where people are.
It's kind of been fed to us at the same time though. You know what I mean? Like the way that they advertise things, like carbohydrates are bad for you, or this is,
or a cereal box with like a really fit, skinny person on there. You're like, if I eat this cereal, I will be like the person on the cover of the box.
I'll be Michael Phelps.
But it's like, but carbs aren't bad for you. Processed food is bad for you. And processed food is primarily carbs.
And people who, when you say carbs, the first thing they think of is like a muffin or a donut. And those aren't actual carbs.
Yeah.
Those are carbs and fats, and there are a whole bunch of different things mixed into
shitty salt.
Yeah, right. So that's not a carb. A muffin's not a carb. Yes, it has carbs in it. It also has fat in it. It also has probably some protein from whatever dairy they use in it, and a bunch of other crap. But it's not a carb. Yeah. And that's where people go wrong. They don't understand. Like if you're talking about a real carbohydrate from nature, then we're talking about grains and fruits and vegetables, and those things are good for you.
You know what was really cool? Like the community you guys have built at Radix. I know it's Radix.
I know, but you've been for years.
I know. Messed up for years.
I changed.
When we had the last Your Life, Your Terms event, and did you see how many people from your gym were there?
Yeah,
how cool was that?
Cool.
That was
so cool.
That was cool for me to see, like, because hands popped up. I don't know if you saw from where you were, but hands randomly popped up from across the whole room.
Yeah,
that was super cool.
Super awesome. And then I got text messages. Where are you?
Yeah.
And
it felt like a family reunion.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then people were like, "Oh, it must be nice for Tom to call you out." I'm like, "Listen, I have to pay extra for that."
Yeah. No, what the community you guys have built is amazing. Like I think Nick and I feel very grateful from it. I know Mike's always there. Now Nadeem goes. Anthony's been on and off. Nigel is like part of your family. I feel
lifetime. I've taken care of that boy since he was 12 years old.
Yeah, Nigel's so like just there's a bunch of people that have crossed through, and it's cool to see what you guys have built, and we feel really lucky that just by random chance we get to be so close to you here. But you guys, I know, work with people remotely, both on the 8-week challenge for kind of fitness and just your
like
overall
having a big goal or a big change in your life.
We've got a couple that's getting ready for their wedding this fall. They're in Poland.
No.
Yeah.
And they're on the 8-week challenge?
They're on 8-week challenge / nutrition club until they get married.
How did they find? Are they from Canada originally?
Yeah, Richard was from Canada originally and moved to Poland, and I've known him for a while now, but yeah, he saw everything. Like, you know, Instagram's a cool place, so he saw everything we were doing and people's transformations. He's like, I'm getting married, we got to do this. So we're working people all around the world.
And I guess at this point you've seen so many transformations that you know it's possible for everyone. Right?
Anybody, everybody. Yeah. Like, and what's cool, like we had it was me, Tony, and Anthony did a podcast on here, right? And Tony's going on a year now. And not only is he not
just for people who,
if you didn't see that podcast, Tony started at 34% body fat and got down to 9% body fat over the course of, he did like 3 challenges.
So how much weight loss is that?
The weight.
Yeah, it's like that was like 40 something pounds of fat, and he gained a bunch of muscle.
Wow.
If you go on our Instagram at Radix Gym, you can scroll down and see his transformation photos, which are like absurd. They're like, that is not the same man. I was on a different podcast, and people in the comments were saying TRT, steroids, like that's how good Tony was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We went to his work, remember? Yeah. And we did a presentation and we put up the before and after pictures, and people were like, I forgot that he looked like that.
Yeah.
Like the people that have seen him every single day, when you see someone every single day, the transformation isn't as drastic, and they had forgotten that like that was the Tony that they knew for like 5 or 10 years before that, and then now like this is the person that they see every day.
Yeah, he did 3 8-week challenges and then joined the nutrition club, and it's been a year now, and he hasn't gained any fat back, and he's stronger than ever, and he's so it's like it's a sustainable way of life if you want to be a healthy performance, like everything. The guy loves it.
So for Nutrition Club or the 8-week challenge, how do people find you? Is it Instagram or email or what?
Instagram's easy, or a website, Radix Gym. Either of those, you'll get right to us. RadixGym.com, yeah.
And Instagram is at Radix Gym.
Yeah.
And then the email is hello@radixgym.com.
Hello@radixgym.com. So hello@radixgym.com, radixgym.com, or Radix Gym on Instagram.
Yeah, you should follow us on Instagram because I have a lot of fun with it. And our YouTube channel is
you just started doing YouTube. Yeah.
We have so much fun with that too.
Anything else on the nutrition stuff that we wanted to cover? Did we get through most of it?
I think that's it, because we wanted to just, like keep it simple. And so that's why like our kids eat what we eat. We recommend everyone eat the same thing. And then it's just the nuances in terms of like, what flavors do you like? Can you have a bit more carbs, or should you have a bit more fat? And just having someone that's there with you to guide you, to keep the blinders on so you don't get distracted by every influencer on Instagram. And just to be like, we're here. We're just staying the course with you.
Accountability.
Because of the time, like I think like I had a bit of a health issue right when I was turning 40 that kind of forced me down this path. That's when Nick dragged me to you guys. But I feel like you don't want to have that to make the time. And I don't know how to convince people, because for me hearing this, I would think, I'm just trying to think my corporate life or whatever was so busy. I'm like, I really can't do what you're saying. You must get that.
Oh, yeah,
we do, but then like, because it's just so simple, like you just have to make the food in advance. If you have to learn,
you just have to learn how to do it, and then it becomes easy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does have to be somewhat of a priority in your life. But if your health is not your priority, then like you can make all the money in the world and you die. That money ain't going with you.
Well, and that's what people say, like, I don't have time to like make breakfast. It takes the same amount of time to fry an egg as it does to pour and eat a bowl of cereal. Like it doesn't take long to cook an egg or to blend a smoothie.
Or if you're buying out, having somebody tell you what you should buy when you're out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what our clients do. Like when they're going on vacation, if they have to travel, if they have to, you know what I mean? Then
everyone's so busy trying to make a living, unfortunately. And that gets me into the fiat world and then to Bitcoin, which we won't get into right now, because I just needed to say the word one time on the podcast. There is a place for Bitcoin in your health.
It all
comes together.
I got my Bitcoin.
Yeah, good.
We're good.
Thank you both for being here. I know with the kids it's hard, so really, really appreciate it.
Always a good time.
Thanks,
appreciate you.
Yes, we do appreciate you guys.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.